Happy holidays, everyone. I hope you're all having a wonderful Christmas.
And to those celebrating, Merry Christmas.
It's really great to have you all here with us, taking a little time out of your day to, well, learn something new. And that's exactly what we're going to do today.
Absolutely.
Today, we're diving deep, deep into this fascinating world of natural healing.
Yeah, we're going back in time a little bit.
Yeah, back to the early 1900s with this book, Back to Eden,
By Jethro Kloss.
written by Jethro Kloss. Now, this book, it's a classic. It's packed with all sorts of herbal remedies, dietary advice, you name it, it's in there. And Kloss himself, well, he really lived what he preached.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He was a true believer.
Yeah, and, he actually lived to be 91 years old.
Which is pretty impressive, especially for that time.
Right, exactly. Makes you wonder if there's something to all this natural healing stuff he was talking about.
Well, I think that's what we're going to explore today, right?
Exactly. So who was this Jethro Kloss? Like, where did this passion for natural healing come from?
Well, let's start with his childhood. I mean, picture this. He grew up on a farm in Wisconsin in the 1800s. So, back then, modern medicine wasn't what it is today.
Right, right.
His family relied heavily on herbs and natural remedies for just about everything.
So it was really a way of life for them.
Exactly. And, Kloss actually witnessed firsthand the potential harm from some of the conventional treatments of the time. And it seems like that really shaped his outlook on health and healing.
It's amazing how those early experiences can have such a lasting impact, right?
Oh, absolutely. They really lay the foundation for our beliefs and our passions.
Yeah. So in essence, Back to Eden is kind of like his guide to tapping into that natural healing power.
Exactly. It's like his life's work compiled into this really comprehensive resource. I mean, you'll find everything in there, from how to cultivate and prepare herbs to specific remedies for all sorts of ailments. He even includes personal anecdotes and recipes. It's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, I was actually flipping through the book, and I came across some pretty unusual remedies, like peroxide for a sore toe. Is that really a thing?
Yeah, he actually talks about using it to treat this young man whose toe was so swollen he couldn't even work. And all it took was a simple application of peroxide, and the soreness was gone by the next morning.
Wow. It's funny how we often overlook these simple solutions.
Right, we tend to gravitate towards the complex when sometimes the simplest answer is right in front of us.
Exactly. So Kloss believed that the body has this innate ability to heal itself. But did he explain, like, how these simple remedies actually work with the body's natural processes?
He believed that herbs, when used correctly, they actually enhance the body's own healing mechanisms. Like, take the grated potato poultice for fever. He describes it as having a cooling effect that draws out infection.
It makes you think about how we often try to suppress symptoms instead of addressing the root cause, right?
Exactly. It's about working with the body, not against it.
Yeah. I'm curious about his strong aversion to what he called poisonous drugs and chemicals.
Yep.
What was the basis for that?
Well, you have to remember the context of the time. A lot of the conventional drugs back then were pretty harsh and often had really unpleasant side effects.
Right.
He believed that many of these drugs actually interfered with the body's natural healing abilities, and he saw nature as this gentle and effective alternative.
So for him, Back to Eden really meant returning to a more natural way of healing.
Precisely. It was about simplifying, about stripping away the excess and getting back to basics.
But was this just like a personal belief, or is it connected to something bigger, like a movement or a philosophy?
Oh, he was definitely influenced by a broader movement. The Seventh-day Adventist Church, they advocated for natural remedies and a healthy lifestyle. And Kloss was a devout member, so that definitely played a role in shaping his views.
Oh, that's interesting. So his ideas were rooted in both personal experience and this larger health movement.
Exactly. It all came together to form his unique perspective on health and healing.
I'm really intrigued by all these unusual remedies he came up with. Like you mentioned something about hot malted nut cream and grape juice for hemorrhaging.
I know, right? It sounds crazy. But he used this remedy on someone who was so weak from blood loss they could barely speak. And after elevating their feet and giving them this hot drink, their strength actually came back.
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
It really shows you the power of observation and just, using what you have available.
It's like a glimpse into a whole different era of healthcare.
It really is.
Okay, so we talked a bit about his background and his overall philosophy, but I'm ready to dive into some specifics, like what were some of the key herbs he featured in Back to Eden?
Oh, there are so many. But let's start with cayenne pepper. Kloss was practically obsessed with this herb. He called it a powerhouse remedy for just about everything.
Cayenne pepper. Really? I mean, I know it's used in some spicy foods, but what kind of medicinal properties does it have?
Well, Kloss believed it had stimulating and pain-relieving properties. He used it for everything from colds to heart issues.
Wow, I had no idea.
He even claimed to have cured years-long cases of rheumatism in a single night by applying it directly to the skin.
Directly to the skin. That sounds pretty intense. Did he ever mention any potential risks or side effects?
Well, while he was very confident in its safety, he did advise against using certain herbs like lobelia during pregnancy or for long periods, so he wasn't completely unaware of potential downsides.
Lobelia, that's one that's some consider poisonous, right? What
Oh.
was his take on that?
Oh, Kless was a big believer in lobelia. He actually compared it to milk in terms of harmlessness.
Milk. Seriously.
He recommended it for all sorts of things, from respiratory problems to digestive issues. He even claimed it could cleanse the circulatory system.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. I definitely want to learn more about that.
Yeah, it's definitely worth exploring.
Okay, so cayenne pepper, lobelia. What about garlic? I mean, that's one we all know and love, right?
Oh yeah, garlic was a big one for Kloss too. He was all about its healing properties, and it aligns with its modern-day reputation as a natural antibiotic.
Right, right.
He highlighted its historical use for treating infections, even mentioning how the ancient Egyptians used it to keep their workers healthy.
It's amazing how certain ingredients have been used for their medicinal properties for centuries.
It really speaks to the wisdom of traditional practices.
Absolutely. But going back to Eden, wasn't just about herbs, was it? He also had some strong opinions about diet.
Oh, absolutely. Diet was a huge part of his philosophy. He was a big believer in eating natural, unprocessed foods with a heavy emphasis on fruits and vegetables.
So back to Eden also meant embracing a more natural way of eating. What specifically did he recommend? And maybe even more intriguing, what did he advise against?
Well, he was a vegetarian and he really believed that a plant-based diet was the key to good health. On the flip side, he was pretty critical of refined flour and sugar.
Ah, so kind of like a back-to-basics approach to eating.
Exactly. He believed that those refined products were stripped of their natural goodness. He even went as far as to say that a natural diet could prevent a lot of suffering.
Interesting. Did he go deeper than just suggesting a vegetarian diet? Did he talk about specific types of foods and their effects?
Oh, yeah, he had specific recommendations, too. He was a huge advocate for whole grains, especially oats. He even shared a letter from the Purity Oats Company in his book praising their nutritional value.
Oats, they really are a powerhouse. It's fascinating how some foods have maintained their reputation for health and vitality through the years, but I'm sure there were some foods he wasn't so fond of. What were some of his dietary no-nos?
Oh, he had a rather dramatic way of putting it. He called white bread the staff of death.
Wow, the staff of death. That's pretty harsh.
Yeah, he believed that refining flour removed all the nutrients, leaving behind something that was actually harmful.
Interesting. It seems like he was really ahead of his time in recognizing the impact of food processing. Did he offer any alternatives to those less than ideal foods? Or was it just about avoiding them altogether?
He believed in taking charge of your health, making those better choices. He actually included a bunch of recipes for homemade bread using whole grains, suggesting that they were much more nutritious and easier to digest.
So it was about empowering people to make healthier choices.
Exactly. It's all about giving people the knowledge and the tools to take control of their own well-being.
So we've got herbs, we've got diet. Was that it? Were those the only pillars of his back to Eden approach?
Not at all. He also emphasized the importance of fresh air, exercise, and adequate sleep.
It's funny how we often forget about those basic things.
Right. We get so caught up in the complexities that we overlook the fundamentals.
Exactly. Did he elaborate on any of those elements?
Oh, for sure. He was a big believer in the healing power of water. He recommended drinking plenty of water and even using it for external therapies.
Water, like hydrotherapy.
Exactly. He was particularly fond of contrast baths, alternating between hot and cold water to stimulate circulation and cleanse the body.
That's fascinating. I've heard about contrast baths, but I've never tried them.
They're pretty invigorating. He even recommended specific water therapies for certain conditions, like hot foot bath for colds and headaches.
Really? It's amazing how water can be used in so many ways to support health.
He even believed in enemas for cleansing the colon.
Enemas. Wow, that's definitely not something you hear about every day.
No, not really. But it does make sense, considering his focus on cleansing and detoxification.
It's definitely a different way of thinking about health and healing than what we're used to today.
It really is.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground for now.
Yes, perhaps we should pause here.
Catch our breath and come back in a bit to delve a little deeper.
I like it.
Sounds good.
Okay, we'll be back. So, digging deeper into Kloss's world, I'm really struck by just, how much he knew.
Yeah, it's not just herbs.
No, not at all. It's like
It's a diet. It's these water therapies.
lifestyle, yeah.
It's like he had a natural solution for everything.
It's amazing. You have to wonder, how did he even learn all of this stuff?
Right. I mean, he grew up on that farm
Right.
where, like you said, natural remedies were just part of life.
Yeah, yeah.
But I feel like there's got to be more to it than just that.
Oh, there definitely is.
Yeah.
Remember that connection to the Seventh-day Adventist Church?
Right, right.
With their focus on healthy living?
Yeah.
That really comes through in Back to Eden.
Oh, interesting.
He really believed that these natural remedies were God's plan for healing.
Wow.
Available to everyone.
Huh.
And, a lot of this stuff was cheap. It was affordable.
Yeah.
He even opened health food factories, retail markets to try to make, healthy options more available to people.
So he wasn't just writing about it. He was really living it.
Yeah, he was a true believer and he wanted
True pioneer.
to share that with everyone. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so let's get back to those remedies we talked about.
Yes.
Like cayenne pepper and lobelia and garlic.
Right.
What other herbs kind of caught your eye as you were reading through this?
One that stands out is golden seal.
Oh.
He thought it was a really powerful remedy.
Golden seal.
Especially for digestion.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I've seen golden seal in teas and things.
You probably have, yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty common.
I kind of associated with soothing the stomach.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He claimed that it could neutralize poisons.
Wow.
And that it was really good for anything that affected your mucous membranes.
Oh.
He even suggested it could help with ulcers and cancer.
Ulcers and cancer. Those are pretty serious.
Yeah, and it's important to remember that while golden seal has been used in traditional medicine for a long time,
right,
modern research is still exploring its effectiveness for those specific conditions.
Yeah, yeah. So always,
always
good to approach things with a little bit of caution.
Absolutely.
And do your own research.
Yeah.
Okay. Were there any herbs that he recommended specifically for women's health?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Red raspberry leaves were a big one.
Oh,
He recommended those for, a lot of different issues that women might face.
Right.
But especially during pregnancy and childbirth.
Oh, wow.
He thought it acted as a tonic for the uterus, helping to, strengthen and prepare the body for labor.
I've actually heard midwives recommend red raspberry leaf tea.
Yeah.
It's amazing how some of these traditional remedies really have.
Yeah, they stood the test of time.
Yeah.
And passed down for generations.
Yeah. They really work, I guess.
It seems like it.
And another one along those lines is slippery elm.
Oh, yes. Slippery elm.
Which I always think of as
soothing.
Like a soothing,
your throat.
For your throat. I feel like I've seen that in cough drops and stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
He really highlighted those soothing properties and said it was excellent for respiratory issues. He even suggested that it could help with tuberculosis.
That's a big claim.
Tuberculosis.
Yeah. Wow.
Now, whether or not that's true, I don't know.
Right.
But he believed that it could soothe those mucous membranes in the lungs and help alleviate the symptoms.
So more about supporting the body
than
actually claiming to cure it.
Right. Working with the body's natural defenses.
Yeah. I'm noticing that's a theme.
It is, isn't it? It's not about attacking the illness.
It's not about fighting.
Yeah.
It's about supporting.
It's about restoring balance.
Yeah.
Harmony.
Balance and harmony. I
Yeah.
like that. It's a much gentler approach.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very different than I think what we see in conventional medicine today.
It is, yeah.
Which is very much about
Eradicate. Kill it. Get rid of it.
Get rid of it. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So speaking of balance.
Yes.
What about herbs for those organs that we don't always think about, like the liver and the kidneys?
Oh, yeah. He had recommendations for those, too.
Okay.
He was a big fan of burdock root for cleansing the liver and the blood.
Burdock root? I feel like I've seen that in detox teas.
You probably have.
Yeah.
It's pretty popular as a natural detoxifier.
Yeah, I've heard it's the good blood purifier.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for the kidneys.
Uva ursi.
Uva ursi. Okay.
He believed it could help with urinary tract infections and other kidney issues.
It's amazing. It's like he really had something for everything.
It seems that way.
But, we've been talking about a lot of kind of acute things.
Right.
What about, like, the chronic conditions that we face today, like arthritis, heart disease?
Yeah,
Did he address those at all?
he did for sure.
Okay.
He believed that arthritis stemmed from like this buildup of toxins in the body. So he recommended herbs like sarsaparilla and prickly ash
Okay.
for their cleansing
That
properties.
makes sense, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Detoxification is, like, such a big thing today
It-
in natural health.
Mm-hmm.
And what about heart disease?
Yeah,
Did he acknowledge, like, the connection between diet and lifestyle?
absolutely.
Right.
He was adamant that a healthy diet and lifestyle could prevent or even reverse heart disease.
So, like, what were his specific recommendations? Did he have, like, certain herbs that he used?
He did mention some specific herbs for certain heart conditions,
Okay.
but his main focus was really on avoiding those processed foods,
Right.
especially white flour and sugar.
Right.
He really advocated for a diet rich in fruits, vegetables, and whole grains.
Okay.
And of course, regular exercise and fresh air.
So it's those basics,
Recommendations, yeah.
yeah, that seem to be pretty consistent
They really are.
across so many different
Across cultures.
philosophies,
Yeah.
approaches.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like those are really important.
They're essential.
Okay, but we've been talking a lot about, like, the physical
Right.
side of things. Did he ever address, like, the importance of mental and emotional well-being?
He did, and while his book focuses primarily on physical health,
Right.
he did acknowledge that connection
Okay.
between mind, body, and spirit.
Mhm.
He emphasized having a positive mental attitude and cultivating that spiritual connection.
Yeah, and I feel like that's so important
It is.
because true health really does encompass, like, all those aspects, right?
It does, absolutely.
Mental, physical, spiritual,
Mm,
and it's all
It
connected.
all works together.
Yeah.
And that brings us back to water.
Oh, okay.
We talked about his recommendations for hydrotherapy,
Right?
but I'm curious about, like, his overall views on water.
Yeah, he seemed to have a real reference for it.
He did. He saw it as essential for life, for cleansing, for healing.
It wasn't just about, like, staying hydrated. He was like, there was something more to it.
Yeah.
So we talked about contrast baths,
Mm-hmm.
but were there any other specific water therapies that he mentioned?
He was a big fan of compresses and fomentations. Okay. He described using compresses with herbs like lobelia and hops for pain relief,
Okay.
reducing inflammation, and then hot fomentations for digestive issues.
Oh.
And of course, the hot foot bath.
Right, for colds and headaches.
Or colds and headaches, yeah.
My grandmother used to swear by those.
I bet.
Yeah, it's interesting how, like, some of these home remedies really
I've been passed down.
been passed down through generations.
Yeah.
But speaking of things that maybe we would find a little unusual today,
Yes.
I remember you mentioning that he recommended enemas.
Oh, yes.
That is something you hear a lot about these days.
Not really.
But it kind of makes sense,
It does.
given his focus on cleansing and detoxification.
Yeah, he really believed in the power of cleansing the colon
Right.
to remove toxins from the body.
It's interesting how our views on these things really do change
They do.
over time.
Over time.
What's, like, radical one era
Right.
is commonplace in another.
And then vice versa.
Yeah, exactly.
We're always evolving.
Okay, but speaking of things that maybe seem a little radical today,
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about his views on food.
Okay.
We know he was a big advocate for, like, natural,
Yeah.
unprocessed foods.
Foods.
Whole foods. But did he have, like, any strong opinions about specific types of foods?
Oh, absolutely. He was a huge proponent of whole grains,
Okay.
especially oats.
Oats, yeah.
He thought they were just incredibly nourishing and beneficial.
Yeah, it's funny how, like, oatmeal is, like,
Classic.
such a classic
Yeah.
breakfast staple.
It stood the test of time.
And it's still, like, considered to be, like, a healthy option.
Absolutely.
But I'm sure there were things he wasn't so fond of.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
What were some of those?
He strongly advised against refined flour and sugar.
Okay.
He thought they were stripped of their natural goodness and contributed to all sorts of health problems.
So he was really, like, critical of
Yes.
foods that had gone through
Anything that was processed.
a process, yeah.
Yeah, he saw them as basically devoid of nutrients
Right.
and filled with harmful additives.
Did he, like, elaborate on that at all?
He actually compared the refining process to taking the life out of food,
Wow.
leaving behind this product that was harmful.
That's pretty powerful.
It is. It makes you think, right?
It does.
What are we actually putting into our bodies?
Yeah. Did he have, like, any specific examples of, like, processed foods that he was just like, no way?
White bread was a big one.
White bread.
He called it the staff of death.
The staff of death.
He really thought it was that bad. He
Wow.
believed that refining it stripped away all those valuable nutrients and left behind something harmful.
So he was a big advocate for, like, the whole unprocessed.
Whole natural foods,
Yeah.
foundation of a healthy diet.
Right. But did he offer any alternatives to those less than ideal foods?
Oh,
Or
absolutely.
was it just like avoid, avoid, avoid?
No. He was all about empowering people. Right.
Giving them the knowledge and the tools to make those healthier choices.
Mm-hmm.
He actually provided a lot of recipes for homemade breads using whole grains.
Oh, okay.
He emphasized that they were far more nourishing and easier to digest.
So he was really like making those positive changes.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool.
Right.
We've covered so much from herbs and remedies to like those bigger principles of like diet and lifestyle.
It's a lot to take in.
It is.
The whole system, right?
It is a way of life.
It's really a testament to, like, how comprehensive his approach was.
It really is.
But, before we totally wrap things up,
Yeah.
I'm curious, because today we're so focused on, like, weight loss.
We are.
Did he address that topic at all?
He did.
Okay.
He advocated for a balanced approach,
Okay.
focusing on healthy eating, regular exercise.
So no fad diets.
No fad diets.
No crazy, like,
No extreme measures.
extreme measures.
Yeah.
Plus.
He emphasized gradual weight loss, suggesting a safe rate of 1/2 to 2 pounds per week.
Which is, like, what we kind of hear today, right?
It is, yeah.
It's like, that's sustainable.
That's healthy.
That's sustainable.
Sustainable, exactly.
It's not about these, like, quick fixes.
No.
Did he have any specific, like, tips for people who wanted to lose weight?
He recommended eating a hearty breakfast and lunch,
Okay.
but opting for a lighter supper
Okay.
and avoiding those late night snacks.
Right, which is, like,
That's pretty common advice.
yeah, pretty common advice.
Even today.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And did he talk about fasting at all?
He did.
Okay.
He actually shared an anecdote about a man who cured his rheumatism by fasting 2 days a week.
Wow. So did he recommend it, like, as a general practice?
He acknowledged its potential benefits,
Okay.
but he emphasized approaching it with caution,
Right.
tailoring it to your own needs.
That makes sense.
Which is, again, very good advice.
Yeah.
It's not one size fits all.
Right.
Always consult with your doctor before you make any drastic changes.
Always, always, always.
Right.
Okay. This kind of brings us to another area.
Yeah.
Where Kloss emphasized balance, which is in cooking methods.
Oh, interesting.
So we talked about his love for, like, the whole natural foods.
Right.
But how did he suggest, like, preparing those foods to preserve those nutrients?
He was a big advocate for cooking methods that minimized nutrient loss.
Okay.
So things like using fresh ingredients, not overcooking, and using as little water as possible.
Okay.
He recommended things like steaming and pressure cooking
Oh, okay.
as effective ways to retain those vitamins and minerals.
So really, like, being mindful of, like,
Yeah.
how you're treating those ingredients.
Exactly. Treating food with respect.
Right. Okay.
And understanding that the way you prepare it can really impact its nutritional value.
Were there any, like, specific cooking methods or equipment that he was just like, don't use this?
He was actually quite skeptical about aluminum cookware.
Oh, aluminum. Okay.
He thought that it could leach harmful substances into food.
Yeah, I've heard that.
You have?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a common concern.
So what was his reasoning for that?
He believed that aluminum could react with certain foods, potentially, like changing their taste and composition.
Oh, interesting.
He even described seeing experiments where, like, food cooked in aluminum took on a darker color.
Wow.
So he really thought that it could, like, alter the food in a negative way.
So he was really about, like, choosing cookware that wouldn't.
That wouldn't interfere.
Yeah.
That wouldn't contaminate the food.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. And that kind of goes along with, like, his whole, like, meticulousness when it came to, like, even baking bread.
Oh, yeah, for
We
sure.
talked about, like, his love for, like, those whole grain breads. But did he have any specific, like, baking tips?
He had tons of tips.
Really?
Yeah, he provided detailed instructions on how to make different types of bread, stressing the importance of, using quality ingredients.
Right.
Proper kneading techniques, appropriate baking times.
Good.
He even talked about the joys of baking in a traditional brick oven.
Oh, wow.
He thought it imparted, like, a unique flavor and texture to the bread.
It's like he's really transporting us back to, like,
A simpler time.
a simpler time.
Yeah.
Where everything was, like, made with so much care.
with intention.
Intention.
Yeah.
Okay, so, speaking of, like, simpler times, I keep thinking about Kloss's emphasis on fresh air and exercise.
Yeah.
Which, like, those seem like such basic elements
They are
of good health.
the foundations.
Yeah, but we often forget about them.
We do.
Right.
We get so busy.
We get so busy, yeah.
We forget to just step outside and take a deep breath.
Exactly. So did he elaborate at all on, like, the benefits of those?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
He described how fresh air oxygenates the blood,
Right.
invigorates the body, and helps prevent disease. He believed that even gentle exercise, like walking, was crucial for maintaining circulation.
Right.
Aiding digestion, strengthening the body.
Like, movement is medicine.
It really is.
Yeah.
We need to move our bodies.
Yeah, did he suggest anything beyond walking?
He also recommended deep breathing exercises.
Oh, deep breathing. Okay.
Yeah.
Which is something I definitely need to do more of.
I think we all do.
Yeah.
It's easy to forget to just take a few deep breaths.
Right.
And how much that can actually benefit us.
Yeah, so he was really, like, weaving all these different elements together, right?
He was.
Herbs, diet, these water therapies, fresh air, exercise.
It's a holistic approach.
It's really holistic.
It's about seeing the body as this interconnected system.
Yeah.
All the parts working together.
It's not like, here's your problem, here's your solution.
No.
It's like, here's how you can support your overall well-being.
Exactly. It's about the whole person.
Yeah. And speaking of interconnectedness, what about sleep?
Oh, yes, sleep.
The thing that I always feel like I don't get enough of.
I think most of us can relate to that.
Yeah.
He recognized the importance of getting enough sleep,
Okay.
both for physical and mental restoration.
Right.
And he even offered some tips for creating, like, a good sleep environment.
Oh, okay. Like what?
Making sure you have good ventilation in your bedroom.
Okay.
Keeping the room dark and quiet.
Okay.
Avoiding those heavy meals before bed.
Right. Which I never do.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I always do and shouldn't.
It's tempting, though, isn't it?
It's so tempting.
But those late-night snacks can really disrupt your sleep.
They do, and it's interesting how, like, some of this advice is so timeless.
It is, isn't it?
It's like, it still holds true today.
It's basic common sense advice.
Yeah, yeah.
But we often need those reminders.
We do.
Yeah.
Okay, so I feel like we've covered a ton of information.
We have. We've really delved into Back to Eden.
Is there anything else that really stood out to you as you were reading this book?
You know, what really resonated with me was his unwavering belief in the body's ability to heal itself.
Yeah.
Like, he saw natural remedies as a way to support that inherent healing power.
It's not about, like, fighting the illness. It's about...
No, it's about working with the body.
supporting your body's natural ability to heal.
Mm-hmm. Giving it the tools it needs to do what it does best.
Yeah, and I think that's such a beautiful way of looking at it.
It is. It's empowering, isn't it?
It is.
It puts you back in control of your own well-being.
Yeah, and it really speaks to, like, the relevance of his work today.
It does, absolutely.
Because, you know, even though some of these remedies might seem a little outdated,
Sure.
that philosophy...
And that philosophy is timeless.
Yeah.
It's about respecting the body's wisdom and working with nature.
Yeah.
That's something that we can all apply to our lives today.
Yeah.
No matter what our health journey looks like.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
It's been, like, such an incredible experience for me.
Me too.
Just exploring this world.
It's a fascinating world, isn't it?
Of Back to Eden.
Yeah.
And it's really made me think about, like, my own approach to health.
I think that's the beauty of exploring these, like, historical texts.
Yeah.
They challenge our assumptions.
They do.
They make us question our own beliefs about health and healing.
Absolutely.
And they often offer, like, these timeless insights that are just as relevant today.
Yeah, it's been a fascinating deep dive.
It really has.
Into, like, this different era of healthcare.
A different way of thinking.
Yeah, and it's a good reminder that, like, there's always more to learn.
Always learning.
When it comes to our well-being.
Absolutely.
So I'm really grateful for your insights.
It's been a pleasure.
I know our listeners have learned a lot from you today.
I hope so.
And speaking of our listeners, I'd love to hear what resonated with you.
Yes.
From our exploration of Back to Eden.
What stood out to you?
Yeah, maybe it sparked your curiosity about a specific herb or remedy. Or maybe it's inspired you to incorporate, like, some of these more natural approaches into your own life.
Whatever it may be, we encourage you to share your thoughts.
Yeah, keep the conversation going.
Keep the conversation going, yeah.
Okay, so we've covered so much today, from cayenne pepper and lobelia
Oh my gosh, yeah.
to hot foot baths and enemas.
It's been quite a journey
It has.
through the world of natural healing.
All thanks to Jethro Kloss
Jethro Kloss, yeah.
and his remarkable book, Back to Eden.
A true classic.
It is.
Yeah.
And as we wrap up this Christmas Day deep dive, we want to leave you with a final thought
Yes.
from Kloss himself, which is, nature holds many answers to our health concerns.
It encourages us to look beyond conventional medicine and explore the potential of natural remedies.
That's a great quote.
It is.
I like that.
Yeah, it's inspiring, isn't it?
It is.
It really encourages us to think outside the box.
Yeah, to be open to those different possibilities.
Exactly. And, you never know what you might discover when you start looking to nature for those answers.
Okay, so thank you for joining us
Yes, thank you.
on this deep dive into Back to Eden.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope it's been an enlightening
Enlightening and inspiring.
and inspiring experience for you.
And as you gather with your loved ones.
And as you gather with your loved one.
And enjoy the warmth of the holiday season.
Yeah.
Take a moment to appreciate the gifts that nature offers
Yes.
and consider how you might incorporate some of Kloss's wisdom into your own lives.
Well said.
Thank you.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays.
It's amazing to think about all that we've learned in our deep dive into Back to Eden.
It really is. It feels like we've stepped back in time.
Yeah, like 100 years ago.
A whole different way of thinking about health and healing.
Yeah, and I don't know, even though some of Kloss's ideas might seem a little unusual today,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
there's still like this wisdom in his holistic perspective.
Absolutely. It's about seeing the body as this interconnected system and working with nature to support its natural ability to heal.
And what really strikes me is like how much he emphasized personal empowerment.
Oh, yeah, he was all about that.
It wasn't just like, here's the remedy, take this.
No, it was about giving people knowledge,
Yeah.
empowering them to make their own choices.
And to really take control of their own health,
Exactly.
which I think is like such an important message, even today.
It's so important, especially today when we're just bombarded with all this conflicting information.
Right, like who do you listen to?
Yeah, exactly.
But Kloss is really encouraging us to
Trust your intuition.
trust your intuition
Listen to your body.
and to really look to nature for guidance.
Yeah, it's about remembering that connection to the natural world and recognizing that our health is intertwined with our environment.
As we're kind of reflecting on this deep dive, what really stands out to me is the simplicity many of his recommendations.
Yeah, he wasn't about complicated treatments or expensive procedures.
No.
It was about those basic elements of healthy living
Like the stuff we often forget about.
that we take for granted.
Right, like eating whole foods,
Yeah.
getting fresh air, exercising,
Sleeping well.
getting enough sleep.
Those foundations, those are the cornerstones of well-being.
And they're accessible to everyone.
Exactly.
You don't have to have a lot of money or special equipment.
No, it's about those simple things that
Yeah.
we can all do.
And I'm also struck by his resourcefulness.
Oh, yeah, he was so resourceful.
It's like he found a natural remedy for everything.
He did, using the simplest ingredients.
Cayenne pepper,
With
potatoes.
water.
Yeah.
He was a big believer in the power of water.
It really speaks to a time when people had this deeper understanding of plants.
And those natural elements.
Yeah.
And how to use them.
And even though we might not be whipping up potato poultices every day,
Probably not.
but I think there's this valuable lesson in his approach.
Oh, absolutely. It's about being open
Yeah.
to different possibilities.
To thinking outside the box.
Exploring those natural alternatives.
Mm.
And trusting in our body's ability to heal.
Yeah, it's remembering that nature really does hold those answers
It does.
to our health concerns.
Sometimes we just have to look a little closer.
Yeah, be open to them.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Back to Eden,
Yes.
maybe we could all carry a little bit of Kloss's wisdom with us.
I love that idea.
Maybe it's incorporating more whole foods
Mm-hmm.
or spending more time in nature.
Maybe it's just taking a few deep breaths.
Yeah. I guess
Remembering to
that's-
slow down.
Yeah.
Appreciate the simple things.
And really trust in our body's ability to heal.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you all for joining us on this Christmas Day exploration of Back to Eden.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope it's been enlightening and inspiring.
We hope you learned something new.
Yeah. And as you're enjoying this holiday season, with your loved ones.
Take a moment to appreciate those gifts that nature offers.
Yes.
And maybe even think about how you can incorporate some of the Kloss's wisdom into your own life.
Well said.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays.